Welcome to my channel. Today I am going to discuss about calls in advance. Sometimes a shareholder pays a part or the whole of the amount of the calls not yet made. The amounts so received from the shareholders is known as the calls in advance. This amount received in advance is a liability of the company and should be credited to the calls in advance account. And when the amount is received by the company, when the calls in advances amount is received by the company, journal entry for this is bank account debited to calls in advance account. Then on the due date of the calls, the amount of the calls in advance is adjusted by the following entry, that is calls in advance account. First one is relating to the payment of calls in advance. Advance amount is made relating to calls in advance. Then the amount on the due date of the calls in advance is adjusted to the particular call account. Then the journal entry will be calls in advance account debited to particular call account. Then there is interest is paid by the company relating to the calls in advance. For the payment of interest, entry is interest on calls in advance account debited to bank account. For interest due, interest on calls in advance account debited to sundry shareholders account. For interest paid, sundry shareholders account debited to bank account. Then we will move on to one problem relating to the calls in advance account. Here, Konica Limited is registered with an authorized equity share capital of 2 lakhs divided into 2000 shares of rupees 100 each issued for subscription of 100,000 shares payable at 25 per share on application, 30 per share on allotment, 20 per share on first call, and the balance as and when required. Here the application money on 1000 shares were duly received and the allotment were made to them. The allotment amount was received in full. But when the first call was made, one shareholder fails to pay the amount on 100 shares, that is calls in arrear held by them, and yet another shareholder with 50 shares paid the entire amount of his shares, that is calls in advance amount. The company did not make any other call, so there will be only first call amount entry only. Give the necessary journal entries in the books of the company. So we have to first write the heading of books of Konica Limited, then the journal, then the next heading is journal. Then we have to draw the journal, date, particulars, ledger folio, debit and credit. First entry is relating to the share application money received. The entry for this is bank account debited to equity share application account. Here the number of shares is 2000 shares. The application money is 25. The subscription is 1000 shares. So the application money will be 1000 into 25, that will be 25,000 debit and 25,000 credit. Then the narration will be money received on application for 1000 shares at rupees 25 per share. Then this amount is transferred to the share capital account. The entry for this one is equity share application account debited to equity share capital account. The same amount is transferred to the share capital. 25,000 debit and 25,000 credit. Then the narration will be transfer of application amount on 1000 shares to share capital. The next journal entry is relating to allotment. The allotment money due. The journal entry for this is equity share allotment account debited to equity share capital. Here number of shares subscribed is 1000. Then the allotment per share is 30. So 1000 into 30 will be the amount, that is 30,000 debit and 30,000 credit. Then the narration is amount due on allotment of 1000 shares at rupees 30 per share. Then this amount is received, allotment money is received by the shareholders. Then the amount entry for this one is bank account debited to equity share allotment account. The 30,000. Narration, allotment money received. Then relating to the call money due. There will be only, I had said earlier, there will be only first call. So the call money due and relating to the call money due. Equity share first call account debited to equity share capital account. The call money is per share is 20. Number of shares is 1000. So 1000 into 20 will be 20,000 debited, 20,000 credited. Then the narration, first call money due on 1000 shares at rupees 20 per share. Then relating to the amount received. So there is a calls in arrears. So the entry will be bank account debtor, calls in arrears account debtor. There is advance amount also, calls in advance also. So to equity share capital account, to calls in advance account. Here bank account is relating to the amount received by the company. The amount received by the company includes 900 shares. The total number of shares received by the company is 900 shares. That is 100 shares. The amount for 100 shares is not received by the company. So 1000 minus 100 is 900. So 900 into call money per share is 20. Into 20 plus there is advance amount. We have to calculate the calls in advance. The advance number of shares is 50 shares. Then per share value we have to calculate in this manner. It is written as 25 on application, 30 allotment, 20 first call. The balance as and when required. So the balance amount is the amount relating to the calls in advance. Okay, so we have to add the application allotment and first call amount per share. Then we have to reduce 100 the total value from the 100. So 100 minus application per share is 25, allotment 30 plus first call is 20. 100 minus this total will be 75. 100 minus 75 will be 25. So 50 shares at rupees 25 per share. The amount will be 1250. So the amount received by the company will be the amount related to the first call amount plus the advance amount, that is 1250. When added, the amount will be 19,250. Then equity share capital. The full call amount due is 20,000. So we have to write it as 20,000. Then the calls in arrears. We have to get the call amount relating to 100 shares. Per share value is 20. So 100 into 20 will give 2,000. The narration will be first call money received on 900 shares, calls in arrears for 100 shares at rupees 20 per share, and calls in advance for 50 shares at rupees 25 per share. That's all for today. Thank you.